Hi folks, how you doing? Welcome to the preview show. I'm Dave Wiggins, and this evening, of course, I've got Neil with me, my co-host. How are you, Neil?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How have you managed to keep your Portadown away top so bright white? Even the kit manager isn't able to do that.
Do you know, funny, I actually had it in the wash earlier on because I was going to work tonight and I was like, oh, better make it look nice and pristine.
Good man. So you've done that okay.
I have indeed, yeah.
That's good. Joining us this evening then, we have Chris Sherrard. Hi Chris, how are you?
Evening guys, good to see you. Thanks for inviting me on.
Did I say your surname properly?
You did. I've had everything over the years. I'm sure you can imagine. Well, I'll not get into them because then that'll just give people a cue to call me again.
So listen, you're a Portadown supporter, Chris, which is, I suppose, primarily why we have you on, and you are also a journalist, editor. Tell us about that, sure.
I noticed you winced there when you said the word journalist there, Dave, but I'll not take offence. That's the reaction we normally get. Yes, well, I describe myself as a journalist, but I'm an editor now. I have been for a few years. I'm in charge of the Daily Mirror in the north, which is probably the title that most people know me for, but also the Irish Daily Mirror in the south. And then we have a lot of online sites as well these days. So Belfast Live I launched, irishmirror.ie we have, and there's a lot of other different digital titles as well. So yes, I'm a journalist. That's my bread and butter. But I also have to do a lot more spreadsheets these days than I would like probably.
Yeah, is your own particular work more online now, or in the print, or a mix of both?
Yeah, it went. So I started off in print, Portadown Times back in the day. Then I was in Ballymoney Times for a while, and then I was briefly over in London over at Sky Sports, and then I came back to the Daily Mirror. So I've been at the Daily Mirror for over a decade now, doing various roles. To begin with, that was in print, but then we launched Belfast Live in 2015. So I launched that and was the editor of that up until recently, when I took on an extended role, which put me in charge of all our titles in Ireland. So it's sort of, yeah, digital is obviously the future of the business, but we still have strong print products that we want to try and maintain the performance of for as long as we possibly can. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, really.
Yeah, great. Well, listen, you've got a very important job and you're very busy, so we appreciate you taking time this evening to talk to us. Probably taking an hour out of your family time as well, so we do appreciate that. How did you get involved in supporting Portadown then, Chris?
It's just well, you just grow up with it, don't you? I think at time, it's all about timing, isn't it? So at time I go into Portadown matches really well, actually. So I started going in the late 80s. And then became a ball boy around the time that we were winning the league titles and going to Irish Cup finals and stuff like that. So then the love of the club stuck right from day one, pretty much, and it's followed me right through until now. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, hasn't it? We've all experienced that over the last few years, but it's in the blood.
Absolutely. You were born at a good time, basically. Same as myself.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was more a case of, I found that, where you need time on your side, don't you? When it comes to supporting the right team, and I definitely had that with Portadown as you had as well. I think, where you sort of, you're probably spoilt, aren't you? Because you're launching into supporting a team and you've got all these wonderful players, but you don't realise the context of that, do you? You don't realise that you won't always be winning league titles, you won't always be going to cup finals and have crowds the size of crowds that we were standing amongst at those days as well. So it was really fortuitous timing, but wouldn't change a minute of it.
Absolutely. Guys, before we start talking about the football tonight, I suppose it would be good for us to just take a moment. And obviously our chairman, Ronnie Stinson, passed away this week. So very sad, of course, for his family, very sad for his friends, and of course then supporters and people that he knows around Portadown Football Club are feeling the loss of that as well this week. Neil, obviously a very sad week for him and a big loss to the football club.
Yeah, a massive loss to the football club. Heartfelt condolences go out to his family and friends. He played a prominent role, over the years at Portadown, especially in recent years, when obviously he's been chairman and stuff, and on top of that, when the club really was on the brink in 2016, he really did help save the, and I think he'll go down as an all-time Portadown great.
Yeah, I think so. Long-serving custodian of the club, and for years and years, and being a board member and taking on the role of chairman as well. Such an important position in a football club, Chris, and in a part-time league mostly. It's a very difficult position, actually. He's running his own business and family life, and then being the chair of a football club as well.
Yeah, it's all about that. Those are the people that they're the mega club, aren't they? Really, the people who put their heart and soul into it, and they're almost, you don't see it, do you? You don't see the vast majority of what they do. You just spot them in the stands on a Saturday, don't you? But I think I would echo what Neil said there. Our heartfelt condolences go to Ronnie's family. It's been a tough few months, hasn't it, for the club? We've lost, in the boardroom, we've lost a few stalwarts there, and also in the stands as well. So, obviously, it's been a hard time all in, but particularly I think Portadown, we've really felt it, haven't we, in recent months? So sad times, and my condolences go to the family.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, all supporters of Portadown Football Club will send their condolences to his wife and children, and his mother, and the whole family circle. Really, it'll take a little while to recover from this. Ronnie, Neil, like you said, he guided the club through that difficult time over the last 4 or 5 years. Supported the club financially, made decisions in the boardroom, and I personally think we would have been in a very difficult position if it wasn't for Ronnie and other board members, but in particular Ronnie. He put his heart and soul into it, and I think probably we have a football club which is in a good financial position and a healthy position on the pitch. I think, a good chunk of that is down to Ronnie Stinson. So we'll remember him fondly, and of course, condolences to everybody as well. I think this is going out on Friday, so Ronnie's funeral will be on Saturday. Obviously, it's just limited to family and small numbers, but I think it's going to pause outside Gary's Bar at 10:45 on Saturday, and up at Shamrock Park about 11 as well. And I think people are welcome to come and stand around, just being cautious and just having a moment to support the family and to think of Ronnie and all that he's done. So I think
you get a mark of people in adversity, don't you? And our club's been through a tough time over the last few years for different reasons, and we've been right up against it, haven't we? But people like Ronnie have been the glue that have kept us going, really. So I think that's the mark of the man of how he's led us through that period.
Yeah. So thinking about the football then, we should have had 2 matches in the last week, and in the last preview show we had Patrick Van Dort on from the newsletter. I wouldn't want to get that wrong and say the wrong newspaper. He'd be annoyed there. So we talked about the Carrick match that was coming up on Saturday, and then Crusaders, which happened on Tuesday. So Neil, obviously, well, coming back to you being a Carrick-Fergus man, the Carrick match was postponed on Saturday past, but I hear the sun was shining in Carrick-Fergus. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. To be fair, but it was an ice rink up here.
Yeah.
On Saturday morning, I went for a run beforehand, and you needed your ice skates, like it was really bad. But then in the afternoon, the sun came out, and then obviously the picture was doing the rounds of like, what the heck's wrong with the pitch here? There's nothing wrong with it, but from what I can gather, I think it was pretty hard in certain places. So
yeah, I think with
do you know what? I actually think it may have done us a favour going into last night, and that the game on Saturday was called off. I think it's sort of got the boys teed up and stuff that, they really did have to perform last night. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, a couple of Carrick players had sort of tweeted, the pitch is okay. But I think just, when a pitch inspection happens, if there's a portion of the pitch that's kind of frozen over because the sun hasn't been high enough behind the stand to melt it out, it's just one of those things that happens. But I think you're right. It probably then, it meant then that Tuesday night against Crusaders was more of a surprise, because that was our first time seeing some of our new players and some of our loan players. Chris, did you watch the match last on Tuesday night against Crusaders?
I did. I sort of, when I was firing up the stream to watch it, I had my fingers like this because I was obviously after the last time we played the Cruise, you go into it a bit worried, don't you? But I thought, right from the first whistle, the Ports were at it, weren't they? They looked like a team who felt that they had something to prove probably, and also at the same time nothing to fear, which I think is the big thing we want to see from these players, because it's, you obviously go in, you respect your opposition, but I think they've probably been guilty so far this season of showing too much respect to some teams, and I think probably the away game against Crusaders was probably a case in point of that, where they just right from the start, probably the game was gone, wasn't it, before they got a foothold on it. But on Tuesday night, right from the start, I thought Portdown were brilliant, and they deserved to be a couple of goals to the good before Crusaders took the lead against the run of play. But I thought
the Crusaders goalkeeper made a couple of early saves, and I was able to be at the match at Seaview beforehand, and I think we conceded about 5 corners in the first 2 minutes, and even at that I thought, this is going to be a tough day. But it was almost the opposite last night. Portadown went at them, had 3 or 4 corners in the first 5 minutes, and very quickly you sort of thought, this is a completely different game here. We're having a go at them, and I was fairly optimistic quite early on, which is a bit of a surprise. And even I was doing commentary on the match on the live stream, and Michael Galt was with me, and I could tell by him that he was quite surprised at how well we were playing early on as well. Neil. So
I think it came from the young keeper as well. He came a couple of times in the first couple of minutes and caught a few balls, and his distribution was great. It wasn't the obvious distribution. It was, picking the right player out, be that a short ball or going a wee bit longer. And I think that, I think he set the tone almost for that as well. I thought it was an excellent performance, and in fact they deserve more than the point that they got. Yeah,
absolutely. Neil, it was you were Stevie Wright's able replacement last night in the stadium. He was unavailable, so you were stadium announcer last night as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I was indeed, and it was quite busy in the end. Plenty of goals and stuff during it and stuff. So yeah, it was a cool experience. But like Chris said, early doors watching it, I was very impressed and thought Portadown, they went at Crusaders straight from the box, and I don't think Crusaders expected that, especially after the 5-0. But then you touched on that there on the previous show last week. You said that Crusaders might come down and think, we'll beat them 5. This could be a stroll in the park. And then obviously it turned out it wasn't. And, right from the get-go, Portadown went at Crusaders, and you're sitting here thinking, wow, if we could take a chance here, it's suddenly the game's on its head. And then when they went 1-0 down, they didn't panic. Whereas, against Crusaders, against Cliftonville away, they panicked. And then before you know it, the floodgates open. But they kept at it. They kept at their game plan, and inevitably it paid off. And had we have got beat last night, I'd have been really encouraged by the performance. But I would have been immeasurably disappointed. But the fact that they showed bottle and came back and didn't crumble, I think it's a testament to, especially some of the new players coming in. I think it's a testament to them. That all the boys got on board and they pulled out a good result in the end.
Yeah, I think being on top so early and then conceding that goal immediately, you sort of think, I hope the heads don't go down here. But they really didn't. They just kept at it and kept at it. Chris, who stood out for you then? Some of the new guys and.
Yeah, there was quite a few, actually, I have to say. The keeper was excellent. I thought Ben Tilney was really good. He was sort of popping up all over the pitch. It was hard to work out where he was actually meant to be playing for the most time, which I thought was great. He was sort of, he sort of took the game to the Cruise, which was great to see. Yeah. And he was much improved, because I thought his debut up at the Oval, he looked rusty, and it's inevitable that he would be rusty after not playing so much football this season. But I thought he looked really at it right from the start, and the whole game I thought he was great. I thought Barney was good in midfield. He was sort of doing that hard job of trying to break up their attacks and get us going, which is, it can be difficult against a team with pace like the Cruise have. But I thought he was good. There's so many highlights in terms of the performance. Lee led the line great, as he always does. It can be a thankless task, can't it?
Yeah.
But and also Ben Guy was great. There was really encouraging signs to see Ben back in the team. I think we've missed him because he was sort of popping up in those pockets, wasn't he? And there's creativity and trying to link the play from midfield to attack. So there was so many positives, I have to say. Like, I was really impressed with the whole team last night or on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I felt that too. I was talking to Adam McCallan after, and he was actually disappointed that he hadn't scored a hat trick from centre back. He felt like the opportunities were there for him, and we're talking about some of those midfielders and forwards, and I thought the defence as well, just excellent. And
it's a good point that Adam's making there, and right enough, because you look at the amount of set pieces that we had, the corners that we had, and free kicks in that were effectively like corners, and you sort of felt Big Paddy McNally on the pitch you'd have probably picked up a couple of goals from those set pieces, I thought, last night. So yeah, there was loads of positives, wasn't there? That Adam getting on the goal sheet as well was great, and no less than he deserved either.
Yeah, and Michael Galt had commented as well. Everyone's favourite right back, Greg Hall. He was up and down there all night. Healy on the left hand side was doing similar things. Neil, who stood out for you?
Well, the funny thing is, I know obviously Stephen Taggart got man of the match, but watching from the stands, I thought Ben Tilney was outstanding. That's personally who I would have went for, but Stephen Taggart also played really well. The whole team from 1 to 11 did. But I would have went Ben Tilney. I thought he was excellent. In fact, whenever it was announced, a few weeks ago that we were signing him, I couldn't believe it, because the games in the championship, and even, last season and stuff, from seeing when Larne moved on up into the Premier League and seeing the highlights and stuff, I was always very impressed with Ben Tilney. And then when we found out we were signing him, I was like, yeah, that's a great signing. And I know he's only here to the end of the season at the minute, but if we could get him for next season as well, it'd be great. But he was very good. Lee Bonus was brilliant, and the defence was rock solid. The keeper, Carney, did very well. I was very impressed with him. I saw a few people saying that maybe he should have done better for the second goal. I don't think so. I thought it was a really good finish, and sometimes people are too quick to blame goalkeepers, and if they concede a goal, and I wouldn't have blamed him for that, to be honest. And
I think as a goalkeeper, I feel like he probably, until he watched it back, maybe he probably would have been annoyed with it. They always talk about goalkeepers don't want to get beaten at their near post, but it kind of it clinked a good bit of the post on the way in, so it was a very fine gap. And when you've got a player like Heatley running through one-on-one with the keeper, more than not he's going to score the goal. And it was actually a great goal they scored in the second half, and they started the second half quite brightly.
But at the same time, I thought I'd like to have seen Barney just clean him, I have to say, because he was nearly there, and he sort of jabbed the toe out, didn't he? But I just take the man on the ball, take everything there, and if you have to get away penalty, but at least you're denying the goal, So I'd like to see Barney take him out probably, but I think any criticism of the keeper was probably a bit harsh given how close range it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, the rest of the match, he was brilliant. And Chris, as you said at the start early, he really gave the team confidence by coming and punching and coming and catching. And like he's only 19 years old. He's only a lad. He's not massive in stature, but he's got that bit of presence about him, regardless of his physical stature, and just very confident and coming for knowing when to come and knowing when to stay, and all of that kind of stuff is probably as important as having good hands. His distribution was very good as well. One of our other signings then, Sam Ward, playing central midfield sort of thing. I sort of felt, he grew into the match quite well, and he kept the ball moving and he was getting it forward. And I think there'll be more to see from him in the coming weeks as well. Just, I don't know. I came away last night very excited, actually. I know it's only one result, so one result can happen, but when you see overall, we look really fresh, we look really fit. I mean, we held onto the ball really well. The young lads, they're on the ball, they weren't panicking with it. Ben Guy, I just thought was silky. He was picking it up and he wasn't rushing the pass. He was just holding on to it, slipping. And I thought actually he was really good for Lee Bonus as well, because I don't know, I just felt I just felt like Lee was a step up last night as well. He just maybe, I don't know, in training, he maybe just felt that Ben was gonna find him and gonna create opportunities for him. So I just thought overall it was an absolutely brilliant result, and I know Matthew Tipton was really happy, and I know, well, I imagine Stephen Baxter wasn't happy at all because he kept them in, talking to them until at least it was about 25-11 before they came out of there. So I think he had a.
Right.
I'm not sure if he's a shouter, but he definitely, I imagine he analysed each player. And how did you feel Crusaders played? You know, they started up top with Jordan Owens and Lecky, two big, strong boys, finishers, goals galore, and actually they didn't get a whole lot. Sure, they didn't.
Yeah, for those two big lads up front, you need the pace and you need the width, don't you? You need to get crosses into the box, which they didn't really do all night. You know, I have to say the Crews were very poor. You know, you can put that down to a number of factors. It could be complacency, given how easily they rolled us over at Seaview. Could have been an off night, or it could have been the fact that the ports were in their faces from the start and they weren't expecting that, so they didn't really know how to respond. You know, so. The thing about it is, for me, it's the mentality that was most impressive probably last night. The no fear. Like I said earlier on, you know, we're going into games probably showing too much respect to teams. You know, I think we definitely were guilty of that at the Oval before Christmas or just into the new year, wasn't it? Where we sort of first half was shockingly bad. I thought we just let them play. Off you go and play. Yeah. And you know, it's Glentoran. It's not my. You know, let's get in their faces. Let's go and compete with them. All right, we're a young team, and there's a lot of inexperience at this level. But you know, at the same time, you shouldn't. There's no reason to be fearful. You know, it's not. You're not playing Real Madrid, are you? You're not playing superstars. You're playing teams that you know you get in amongst them, and Crusaders showed that. Once you get in amongst them, then they're human, and you can compete with them. And those players that we have, by virtue of the fact that Tippy's picked them and signed them, I think shows that you know he believes they're good enough to play at this level. Now they need to go and back him up, because I don't think there's any doubt that most of them are capable of playing at this level. Now I'd just like to see them use that Crusaders game as a sign. Now just take the shackles off. Don't be afraid. Don't be worried about it. None to fear. Just go and get in amongst it and go and get in the team's faces and go and express yourselves. And I think you know we saw that against Linfield at home as well, where we you know we got in there and we probably deserve to take something from that game as well. I think the games that we've been too respectful of the opponents we've got rolled over, you know, so that's a lesson in itself. Just go and play with no fear and enjoy it.
Yeah, we seem to be, I like us at home, you know, those teams who have rolled us over, you know, it's been away at Carrick, which was other circumstances, away at Solitude, away at Seaview, you know, you've got plastic pitches involved there, there's a whole lot of circumstances, but Neil, I fancy us at home most weeks.
Yeah, well, I think Crusaders were a bit startled and really didn't know how to deal with the likes of Tilney and Ben Guy. I mean, I think they showed that, given at half-time. They changed it up and brought Adam Lecky off, and they brought Robbie Weir on to play at right back, which I sort of thought they were a bit panicking, you know, with regards to Ben Guy and Tilney, because they were switching sides, you know, during the first half. But I was really pleased last night. I mean, I couldn't have faulted anyone that was on the pitch at all. I think before the game, we'd have bitten your hand off for a draw, but when you're coming away thinking, we should have won that, you know, I was still happy that they got the point in the end. If it had been the other way around, would have had it conceded later on, I would have been really disappointed. But the fact that you know, they kept going and they got a deserved equaliser. It was very encouraging and heartening as well. So, like I would say a lot of teams will not want to come down to Shamrock Park because, as you say, you know, that's where you need to pick up your points, because if you can make your home ground a fortress, then it means that obviously you don't want to lose any games, but it means that games away from home that, you know, you're expected to lose, it's not so much of a disaster if you do, as long as you're picking up your points at home. And to be fair, Portadown have played 4 home games this season. They've played Crusaders, who are second in the league. They've played Coleraine, who last season were excellent, and who already stole a march on us in the terms of like pre-season, because they've been playing European games. We played them at home early doors.
Yeah.
They played Linfield, who it's self-explanatory, champions and stuff. And then obviously they have Ballymena, who have been on a really good run of form. So they've had 4 really hard home games. And, they've still got plenty of teams to come down to Shamrock Park. And if they can replicate the form of the game last night, and Linfield, albeit we're obviously a bit shortchanged in the end, then I would say there's a fair chance we could accumulate a fair few points at Shamrock.
Absolutely. So we've 2 more games coming up in the next week then. So on Saturday, we've got Warrenpoint coming to Shamrock Park. So previously we've played Warrenpoint away. I think if it was during a time when supporters were allowed in. So that was probably one of our only away matches this season. And we were kind of fortunate we were able to do that. I don't think other supporters then going forward were able to with restrictions and everything. But so Warrenpoint at Shamrock Park this Saturday. We've played 11. We're sitting on 9 points. They've played 13 and they're sitting on 12 points. So a really important match. Still quite early in the season, but we don't know when the season might end. So to me, it's a really, really, really important match of a team who's just above us. We drew 1-1 down there, of course. Really, really difficult game. The memory was Stephen Murray scored an absolute cracking goal into the top corner against one of his former teams. But that was away from home. This is at Shamrock Park on Saturday. Warrenpoint, I was looking down there, in their last number of matches, they've been beaten 6-0 at Windsor Park, beaten 4-0 at Seaview. They've been beaten by Glenavon at home. They've drawn 0-0 with the Glens, and they've been beaten away at Coleraine. So even though they're above us, their more recent form maybe isn't as good as maybe their early form. How do we see that going, Chris?
I think what you said. There's probably a risk because complacency could be our enemy in this one. I think we've shown against Linfield and against the Cruise last night and against Ballymena when they came to Shamrock that when we're on our game and we're prepared, then we can mix it up and we can be a match for these teams. But Warrenpoint, I think there's a risk that we can think right, we've cracked it now. We'll roll these ones over. And it's not going to be as simple as that. I might be wrong, but I think our record against Warrenpoint over the last few years is pretty poor. I think we've lost about 4 or 5 in a row up until that draw earlier in the season. So I think we need to lay down a marker now that we're going to kick on and we're not just going to be a team that draws one, loses one, draws one. I think we need to establish a bit of momentum behind us now as well. So I think Steve Murray scored in a lot of those games for Warrenpoint, didn't he? I seem to remember off the top of my head as well.
That's right, yeah.
He's got a good record in this fixture. Hopefully he can continue it when he gets one for us on Saturday. But look, it's pretty clear, isn't it? We're in a mini league table. They always talk about that, but it's really true, isn't it? Where there's 4 teams there really. If we compete with those 4 and win that league table, we'll have another season in the league next year, and we can look to use that as a platform to build on. So these are the games that really matter. These are the games that will define our season. The Warrenpoints at home, and we need to be. If we show the same intensity that we showed against the Cruise, we'll be fine. Yeah. My only concern is if they're a bit complacent, that's when we could come a cropper probably, but hopefully not. I saw very promising signs against the Cruise that I think there's a lot more about us now.
Yeah. Neil, they're a big, strong team, full of, I suppose they're full of experienced Irish League players now. How do you see it going? Any concerns? Do you think the same team will start the match? Are there any changes you could suggest or might think of?
I could see Stephen Murray playing because Warrenpoint are quite physical at the back, and Gavin Pearce, he got sent off, didn't he, at the game down at Milltown? He's a big strapping centre back, maybe and I'm sure he'll be up for that game, considering he's one of his ex-teams. But if they played the way they did the other night, they should be fine. But like Chris says, you don't want to be complacent. At the end of the day, it's all well and good playing well against the likes of Linfield and Crusaders, but this is the nitty-gritty, and these are the games that we really need to win. Now, this weekend's massive for Portadown, not even in the context that they're playing Warrenpoint. The teams around them, Dungannon, have a really hard game away to Linfield. Carrick are playing Ballymena, and even Glenavon are playing, I believe it's Cliftonville away. So if that's the case, and Portadown got the win on Saturday and those other results were to go in our favour, you're suddenly looking, it becomes a lot closer. And, with the games in hand as well, we'll put you in a good position going into Tuesday night against Linfield, which is obviously going to be really difficult. But then on the Tuesday night, Warrenpoint and Carrick play each other. So if we could get a result against Warrenpoint and then them two were to take points off each other on the Tuesday, it would put us in a really good position, I think.
I think you've had your calculator out today, have you?
Yeah.
I was doing my research. But as you say, they have a really good opportunity here to lay down a marker. But Warrenpoint, over the years for us, has always been a really difficult fixture. Obviously it's maybe a wee bit different at Shamrock, but I always remember, again, Portadown put a great performance in against Crusaders, who beat them 3-2 away at Seaview, and they went top of the league. And then the following weekend they're playing a Friday night away to Warrenpoint, and we blew it, got beat. And it's just like, everyone was like, oh, they beat Crusaders away, this is our year, and then we get beat by Warrenpoint. You're just like right back to square one. It just collapsed in there. So I wouldn't get carried away. I think Saturday is going to be a really, really difficult match, and Warrenpoint will be up for it. And, they're probably going to be more than happy to maybe not necessarily park the bus, but they're going to come down and think, if we get a draw here, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad result for us. Whereas for Portadown, I think it is must win, to be honest.
Yeah. Give me a score prediction.
I'm going to... I beg your pardon, sorry. I'm going to go 1-0 to Portadown. I think it'll be very close.
I'm writing it down this week. 1-0 to Portadown. Chris, what about you? How do you see it going?
He was quite emotional about a 1-0 win there, wasn't he?
I don't know what happened there.
I think it's going to be close. I don't think there's going to be much in the game, but I think we've more about us if our mentality is right. So I think I could see it being 2-1 Portadown.
Okay. I'm going to go for a 3-0 win. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. I just think, some of these teams, I think sometimes I like to think, it's always close. It's always one goal or whatever. So at some stage, we're going to get a result that's just a little bit different. So 3-0. If I'm right, I'm going to look good. If I'm wrong, nobody's going to know anyway. So
hope you're right. Hope you're right.
For a 3-0.
Sure.
Yeah. I really hope the Warrenpoint players will not play this in the changing room, in the stand before the game or at half time, and they'll just be like, that guy shot his mouth off, saying we're going to be rolled over here easy. I really hope that does not go against us.
And I'm gonna go 3 goals from Adam McCallum, all headers from corners. Yes. That's to put the pressure back on him,
Yeah. He's well capable.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to the game, after the Crusaders result. And, that could be 4 points out of 2 games, and that would be a really nice return, and really set us up for moving forward. Probably a more difficult game then on Tuesday night. We're away to Linfield at Windsor Park at the National Stadium, which is a completely different ball game. I'm quite confident against Linfield at Shamrock Park. It's always close enough because, I don't know if Linfield don't like coming out to the countryside or whatever, but I always feel at Windsor Park it's a much different thing to go out and try and beat Linfield there. Chris, have you been to many Linfield Portadown matches down the years?
Oh yeah, too many to mention, and we've lost more than I'd care to mention as well. But I agree with you. I think we always. It feels like a big game, doesn't it? It feels like one of the blue ribbon fixtures in the calendar, doesn't it? It's one you always look forward to, and away always feels like a day out, doesn't it? Because it feels like you're going to a cup game, doesn't it? For some reason, so I think that's probably our best approach. Actually, is to treat it like a cup game, because we, there was a couple of seasons ago when we were in the championship, we're struggling at the time, but Linfield came down in the League Cup, I think it was, and we put it up to them, and I think we only lost 2-0 in the end, but we deserved to actually win that game, you know. And I think if we treat it like that and treat it like a cup encounter, because really, like realistically, it is, because they're in a different league to us, even though we're in the same league. They're fighting for the title, and we're fighting to stay up, aren't we? So we're in different leagues. So you almost have to treat it like, right, it's a one-off cup game. Go out, let's see what we can do with no fear type of thing. And yeah, who knows? Who knows? When they came down to Shamrock a couple of weeks ago, or whenever it was, they're all rolling into one at the minute, all the weeks and the months. But whenever they came down to Shamrock Park, I thought we deserved more than we got actually that day. And you know, I think we're probably, you know, we let them play too much. Whereas if we'd have kept going and built on the momentum that we had at those times, then who knows, we could have got more from the game. So I think that has to be the mentality again, is to, you know, just go and have no fear, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the phrase I was thinking, have no fear. You know, sometimes to talk about a free one, we're going there and we're probably expected to get beaten. We're underdogs. So, Neil, the players, especially some of those young players, have never probably played at a big stadium. Well, maybe they have, I don't know. But I imagine they haven't played at a stadium like that. It's our national stadium at the end of the day. They can just go, it's a big pitch, they can just go and express themselves. And some of those young players, lone players who've come in, they look, our players I'm talking about, they look good in the ball, they can find a pass. They open spaces, they might quite enjoy that. It's obviously a big pitch at Windsor Park, but I presume they can just go and enjoy themselves and feel free and be relaxed and try and beat a player and do something different.
Yeah, I don't really think going into this one, you know, Portadown effectively have nothing to lose because no one is going to give us a chance up there. But the key is for this game, they need to make sure that they keep it tight because, which to be fair, on the way our travels this season hasn't exactly gone to plan, but they need to keep it tight because like Warrenpoint went there and got absolutely spanked. Carrick went there and got absolutely spanked, and we don't want to be the latest team to suffer that up there. So, yeah, it's sort of like a free hit for Portadown next Tuesday, I think. Obviously, you know, it mightn't feel that way, you know, after Saturday's result. Fingers crossed it goes our way, obviously. But I remember the season we actually got relegated. We went to Linfield and we drew 1 each. They scored a last-minute equaliser.
Okay.
And Adam Foley scored a wonder goal. He chipped the keeper.
Yeah,
so,
from the outside of the 18-yard box kind of thing.
Yeah. So we weren't. Nobody gave us a hope in hell that night, and you know, they pulled off a real plucky performance, and we're really unlucky not to get the 3 points. But so if they could, you know, take a leaf out of that book, then there's no reason why not. But the key is they've got to make sure they don't concede early doors because, I mean, I don't mean to be all doom and gloom, but if you concede early at Windsor Park, like you're more or less on the route to hiding. It's just the way it's went this season. You know, teams went up there and buckled early doors, like, so you just got to make sure they don't do that.
The Linfield team, especially this season, they're packed full of excellent footballers, you know, and they're, I think, possibly next season they might be full time. You know, they're heading in that direction. Forward players full of skill, very, very experienced defenders, midfielders. They're an excellent team. But I think the reason we all love and watch football is, you're expected to lose, but anything can happen. Who knows? You know, you could nick a draw. You could, you know, if they have an off day, you could beat them 1-0. Even though Linfield are currently sitting top of the league, they haven't been overly consistent every week. You know, there's a few flaws there, and obviously on Tuesday night past they've been beaten by Cliftonville, so they can be beaten, and you know they've conceded 4 goals in that match as well. So things can happen. Things change quickly in football. You know, someone gets injured, a player gets sent off. Anything can really happen. So I'm looking forward to that one next Tuesday night as well. Give us some predictions for that one then. Chris, you go first.
Prediction. I would. First 20 minutes is key. If we can keep it tight, if we can frustrate them, we could get a draw similar to the Cruise game. I'll get off the fence. I'll say I think we'll go down 2-0 probably.
Okay, fair enough. a very logical answer. Neil?
Yeah, head over heart that, unfortunately, that one, but
Yeah.
I'd love to see us beat them 5 or 6.
Absolutely.
This is a game where at the start of the season, like with realistic expectations, you'd have went, right, realistically we'll get no points from this. So it's one of them ones where if Saturday goes to plan and they get the 3 points there, would obviously go in with a bit of momentum. But if you lost then on the Tuesday, it wouldn't be that bad a result in the sense that it's not really one you're expected to pick anything up anyway. Do you know what? I went for 4 points last week, and like obviously we only got the one game, we got that prediction right. I'm gonna go. Do you know what? I'll stick my neck out. We'll get a 1-1 draw.
Do you know what? I'm sitting here thinking a 1-1 draw as well, but I'm still living in the buzz of the Crusaders match on Tuesday night. So, in reality, this should beat us, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw as well. And we'll cross our fingers and we'll watch the game and enjoy it, however it goes. Absolutely.
Do you know what? I've never ever went into a game in my life and said Portadown will lose today. So I'm sticking with that, and I'm not going to be negative. We'll go up there and we'll get a point. Portadown could be playing Real Madrid, and I'd say we'd have a chance of getting a point there. Might as well just keep that going.
Sure, why not? Listen, guys, it's great to spend a bit of time with you this evening and talk about football. It's been a good week on the pitch for Portadown and a sad week off the pitch. If you were in the changing room before the match against Warrenpoint on Saturday, Chris, give us a wise word. What's one thing you would like the players to hear in the changing room before the match?
I would just say that it's Warrenpoint. You know, it's not you're not playing Liverpool or you're not playing Inter Milan or some of these. You're playing Warrenpoint, lads. Don't be afraid. It's nothing to be afraid of. You played great the other night. Go and play like you played. Go and enjoy it with no fear. And just go and take, enjoy the fact that you get to go and run about in the pitch for 90 minutes and don't be afraid of what that can bring as well. And you're more than capable of beating this team.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Wise words. Neil, what about you? It's your chance to be the manager for 5 minutes.
I would just say do exactly what you did on Tuesday night. And if you do exactly what you did on Tuesday night, then I don't really see how you can go wrong, because they were excellent from 1 to 11, the whole 90 minutes, and everyone did their job. So if they could replicate that form going into Saturday, then they have a decent chance of getting a result. But I would just say play to your strengths, but don't be complacent.
Yeah. So listen, I've written both of your predictions down there and my own, so we'll be interested to look back on those as well. So listen, we'll wrap it up here. We're hoping for 3 points, maybe 4 points this week, and push on up that table. Guys, thanks for your time. Don't forget the match on Saturday will be live streamed as usual. Mark Beattie is on commentary, and Kevin Braniff is in co-commentary with them. So it'll be nice to see Kevin at Shamrock Park and hear a little bit from him. And we're hoping for a good result. So I'll chat to you again soon, okay? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, lads. See you later.